What's good, everybody? It's your boy Anonymous, the author, aka Anonymous Rap Guy, and I am back with another little reaction video. Today we got Thomas Sowell. We have him versus Feminists. This is not Thomas Sowell versus feminism. This is Thomas Sowell versus feminist. There is a difference. Yeah, so I'm not gonna hold y'all up, man. Let's just jump into that intro, and then we'll jump into the video reaction right after this. Lego.
The author. The author. Spit flows, rip shows, a monster. Money over the bitches is what they talking. Slick talk with pain and torture.
Y'all know, man, pretty much before the video, I just give a little bit of information about me, share a little bit of information about who I am before we go into the video. Sometimes people take my reactions and my silence or some of my comments and take them the wrong way and misconstrue who I am. So I'm just going to jump into it real quick. I am one of the people that is all for, how do I say this? I'm all for feminism in the sense of I think that women deserve to have the same rights, to have the same power, in a sense, to have the same, I guess I'll say, entitlement to certain things as males do. Obviously, I'm not gonna, force different kinds of ideals or pressures or thoughts on another woman just because she's a woman. With that being said, when it comes to feminism, I'm not one of these male feminists in the sense that I do not believe that I should have to bow down to you or worship you just because you are a woman. I do think that every woman is entitled to her own opinion. I do believe that every woman is entitled to how she views the world. So this is really, like, topics like this is always splitting hairs. There's always a little bit of nuance to these types of conversations. I'm not one of the guys that believes that every woman has to bow down or be, what's the word? How do they phrase it? They say that they have to be submissive, that women have to be submissive to men. I'm not one of the guys that buys into that thinking that you have to listen to or obey my kind of rule or command, or you have to, like, let me lead in a sense. I'm like, we're push and pull in a relationship in a certain sense. You bring half, I bring half, and then we kind of come together and kind of like do that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, 50-50. But yeah, I'm not one of these guys that thinks that that I should be, I don't know if you guys have seen, but women have been putting like period blood on their faces, and like that's supposed to be a stamp of feminism, and I don't know where the hell that came from. But like I said, everything has nuance to it. Everything has a little bit of subtlety to it. So I'm not gonna act like that I have every answer. I'm not gonna act like that I have every school of thought up in this thing. So I'm definitely interested to see where he's coming from. So yeah, don't take my silence or my critique, or if I throw a joke in here and there, that I completely agree or disagree with what he's saying. I always find different opinions interesting. So yeah, we're just going to jump into this, see what Thomas Sowell is talking about, man. I think I'm going to continue this on. I think I'm going to have a bunch of these controversial takes. Like I said, it's only controversial when you hear a statement or you hear a blanket interview and you think that you have to take that word as gospel. Everything has nuance to it. Just like the other video I did with him in regards to white liberals and nationalism and socialism. It's everything has nuance. You agree with some things, you disagree with some, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to take what he says as the gospel, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to vilify him and make it seem like everything he says is just completely evil. Everything has nuance. Hopefully I can access a couple more things, add a couple more thoughts to this noggin that I didn't already have, and yeah, that's what this thing is all about. So we're going to jump into it, man, see what he's talking about. Yeah, please click like, please click subscribe, leave a little comment, let me know what kind of content you want to see, and I'll definitely try to make it happen, man. Lego.
Most of the foolish things that are said on these programs were said 20 and 30 and 40 years ago, and refuted 20 and 30 and 40 years ago by you quite often.
By you quite often. Subscribe to Thomas Sowell if you haven't already.
Here in the UK, for example, let's take that as an example. The gender pay gap stands at just over 9%. You've got women at the BBC,
the famous Jordan Peterson and Cathy Newman interview,
illegally paying them less than men to do the same job. You've got only 7 women running the top FTSE 100 companies. So it seems to a lot of women that they're still being dominated and excluded, to quote your words back to you.
Well, as I look at numbers from various places around the world, I don't find anything faintly resembling an even representation of people in any institution, anywhere in the world, broken down by any way. What's amazing to me is that this notion that people would be evenly represented, except for these institutional policies. That notion has had such momentum behind it without a speck of evidence being asked or presented.
That 9% pay gap, that's a gap between median hourly earnings between men and women.
But
That
multiple.
exists.
If you're talking about women with the same number of years of experience, with the same continuous service, etc., then when I look at that, I don't find that disparity. I find, for example, in many cases, the women are making more, depending on how you break the data down.
When I was studying that some years ago, for example, I found out that young female doctors made much less money than young male doctors. That seemed like very odd, and so but when you look into it, you discover that young male doctors work an average of 500 hours a year more than young female doctors, and they get paid for the 500 hours.
When you correct for all the various factors, such as the number of hours worked, the continuous employment versus taking a few years out to have children and so on, you take all that into account, the differences between men and women become quite trivial. If you look at the academic world, as far back as 1969, women who had never married and who had earned higher incomes than men who had never married, they became a tenured professor at a higher rate than men who had never married. And then later on, if you look at the general population, you take the women who are past the childbearing years and who work continuously, their incomes were higher than men who would work continuously and so on. So the difference is that not
Nuance.
that
It's nuance.
that they have different characteristics.
But do you agree that it's unfair? If you're a woman,
Not necessarily.
and on average you're getting paid 9% less than a man, that's not fair, is it? Do you agree that you would be happy?
Everything has nuance. Like I
with that pay
said,
gap
oh,
between
she
men?
said by average. It's like
That's all
average,
these
you know.
radical feminists are saying.
What I call
There's nuance to everything. There's specifics and there's analyzation that has to be done. You can't just blanket statement say average.
Because they're trying to correct not only the inequities that they see in society, they're trying to correct the oversights of God or the defects of the cosmos. The argument here is not against real justice or real equality. Both of these things are desirable in themselves. The only argument is that some versions of these things are simply impossible.
Is gender equality desirable?
If you mean by equality of opportunity, yes. If you mean any belief that you're going to get the same end results, the answer is no. What those kinds of goals do is simply tear a society apart, often making all the groups in it worse off than they would have been otherwise.
People are treated pretty fairly in Western culture already, but we can.
They're really not, though, are they? I mean, otherwise,
Well,
why would there only be 7 women running FTSE 100 companies in the UK? Why would there still be a pay gap?
The central variable in explaining economic differences between men and women is not employer discrimination. It's that women, it's child rearing, marriage and child rearing. That's the variable. As that varies, a women's arrival or participation rate in high-level occupations varies with that. That's
Absolutely.
okay.
Not all domestic responsibilities can be shared equally.
Shout out to paternity leave too, by the way. We're just gonna slide that in there. Men need rights too, yo.
But what it means is that women make choices that make a lot of sense for them.
So you're saying women are just more sensible. They don't want that because it's not a nice life.
I'm saying that's part of it, definitely.
You don't think there are barriers in their way that prevent them getting to the top
Oh,
of
there
those
are some
companies?
barriers.
I wouldn't dismiss it. I would simply say, if there is evidence that you have, let us see that evidence. What I think is really tragic is that assertions have been made.
It was a young handsome man, young whippersnapper,
Why are
bro.
you not even asking for evidence? It's as if these are self-evident truths that have been brought down from the mountainside.
So you're saying that anyone who believes in equality, whether you call them feminists, call them whatever you want to call them, should basically give up because it ain't going to happen. Because a lot of people listening to you will just say,
It ain't gonna happen.
Because they're actually not listening.
I'm
They're just
listening very
projecting
carefully,
what
and
they
I'm
think.
hearing you basically saying women need to just accept they're never going to make it on equal terms, equal outcomes is how you defined it. But you're going to put all those hurdles in their way, as has been in their way for centuries, and that's fine. You're saying that's fine.
I'm quoting you to yourself, Tom. Quote, it is widely believed that the rise of American women...
This video has, like, crazy, volume
has
swings.
been due to anti-discrimination laws, and that these, in turn, have been due to the feminist movement. In reality, the proportion of women in high-level occupations was greater during the first decades of the 20th century than in the middle of the 20th century, and all of this was before the feminist movement. Explain.
Yes, in the first half of the 20th century. For example, in 1908, the percentage of women in who's who in America was twice what it was in 1950. And various fields, if you look at the women who got PhDs in economics, chemistry, who got law degrees, other postgraduate degrees, those were all higher in the 20s and 30s than they were in the 50s. Now, the people on the other side say the opposite by the simple expedient of looking as if the world began in 1960. And they ignore all the rest of that, and they say it's all due to the feminist movement, to anti-discrimination laws, and so forth.
You're saying that women aren't intelligent enough to run these top companies?
No,
Wow.
I didn't say that at all.
You said that
This interview is just
female
classic.
traits don't predict success. You're just
That's
saying
murderous.
things, though, to provoke, aren't you? I mean,
Not
you
a
are a
bit.
provocateur.
I never said
You're like
anything.
the alt-right that you hate to be compared to. Aren't you just whipping people up into a state of anger and...
Not at all.
Those people who disagree with those with a vision of cosmic justice must be stopped, in their view, by all means necessary. And that, of course, includes character assassination.
What they believe seems so obviously true that if you are standing in the way of it, either you must be incredibly stupid, utterly uninformed, or simply dishonest. People like that find it very hard to believe that someone else could honestly, sincerely, and intelligently reach a different conclusion. They talk about how complex the world is, but it never seems to be complex enough that other people could have read the same evidence they've looked at and come up with a different conclusion.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, come up with a different. Yeah, man, that Cathy Newman and Jordan Peterson interview, just historic and just definitely viral at this point, man. I don't want to say historic, but monumental. Just seeing how some people choose to debate and choose to get their point across. But anyway, man, I did enjoy Thomas Sowell's points. I did enjoy some of the stuff that he hit on. Yeah, everything has nuance, everything has a little bit of subtlety, and not everybody's going to come to the same conclusion. Even with the other video that I did, some people were in the comments disagreeing with me with some of the ideas or thoughts that I had. Some comments got blocked because of how vulgar they were. I didn't know that well, obviously I did, but I guess I forgot that YouTube automatically, they'll show you the comment, but they will remove it if it violates some of their I guess policy or community guidelines. And yeah, people get very upset, and I love to call you all sorts of names if you don't agree with a specific set of thinking. And yeah, I think it's hilarious, man. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Everybody's entitled to coming up with their own end result. Like you said, intellectuals are intellectuals. They're free to think and come up with their own theorems and ideas and concepts regarding life and regarding people. But like I said, not everyone has to agree with it. In regards to this video, I did agree with a lot of the points that he hit on. I come from a family of very strong female leads. I definitely enjoy a strong woman's point of view. I definitely see the merit in it. But yeah, it's on both sides of the feminist debate. Like it's either like you're for it or you're against it, and there's no middle ground. There's no that you're either supposed to be out in the streets with tampons with blood on your face, or you're supposed to have a woman bowing to you and being subservient to your every whim. And I don't agree with either of those extremes. On a side note, man, Chad Wheeler is complete trash, man. I hope he gets everything that's coming to him. But that's a debate for another day. That has nothing to do with feminism. I was just thinking of that whole situation. I'm not even going to get into it. But yeah, I appreciate you guys, man. Please stay dope. Please be calm. More than anything else, man, please be yourself. I'll catch y'all next time. Yeah. Peace. Hey guys, thanks for checking me out today. Before you leave, check out the Patreon. I got a link down in the description. Please subscribe and leave a comment to let me know how I can make my content better, or any kind of content that you guys want to see. Click like so YouTube can know that I'm a pretty dope reactor, and leave any thoughts that you guys have today, guys. Peace.
And I just really want the simple life. Simple cars, simple charm, that's a simple right. No sitting large, just want a simple slide. Here